Hey guys, back again with another video, and today I'm just doing another sort of random thoughts idea, but about the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. But I just kind of had this thought recently. Y'all know how in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Abby seemed so like adamant about how like Chica was her favorite. She's always saying Chica. She wants to see Chica and the others, and it's like, wow, picking a favorite friends. That's not very nice. But the morality of having a favorite friend aside, I just sort of had this idea. Seeing from what happens in the first movie, shouldn't Bonnie be her favorite? Like, well, why I think Bonnie realistically would be her favorite. Though I am a little biased probably because Bonnie is my favorite of the main four, but I digress. The thing is, why I think Bonnie would be Abby's favorite instead of Chica realistically is that, well, is sort of everything that happens in the first movie. Like, compare Bonnie to the other three, four if you want to include Mr. Cupcake, five if you want to include Golden Freddy, but Golden Freddy barely shows up in the movie, so I'm not even going to talk about Golden Freddy really. But once you compare Bonnie to the others, it kind of seems like Bonnie would be Abby's favorite. Like, Freddy, when he first met Mike, he and the other animatronics met with Mike in night three, I believe, in the first movie. Freddy went in for the kill, and I mean, maybe Abby wouldn't have known that Freddy was definitely going to attack Mike, but everyone else noticed. Let's be honest with ourselves. Even Mike grabbed like a chair, like he was gonna tame a lion or something. So that would rule Freddy off as a favorite. Not really, but either way. Foxy chases Abby down the arcade to recapture her or whatever, because Vanessa is like, they want to make her like them and such. But either way. So Foxy was definitely going to attack Abby, and Abby definitely knew that he was going to attack her. Mr. Cupcake. I don't think I need to discuss why Mr. Cupcake would not be Abby's favorite friend. Again, I don't really think she should have a favorite friend per se, but I'm just saying, if she's going to have a favorite friend, realistically, seeing what happens in the first movie, it'd be Bonnie. I don't think I need to discuss why Mr. Cupcake would not be her favorite. And Chica is the one who tried to stuff Abby in the Springlock suit, the Ella costume near the end. So I don't know. Would she realistically be her favorite? But then, and all of the stuff the other animatronics did to Abby or Mike that they witnessed, sure, maybe that's still forgivable, seeing as they're dead children. So, maybe it's forgivable and such. I'm just saying. But think about this. Bonnie, as far as Abby knows, obviously we as the audience know that Bonnie brutally murdered Hank in that closet in the scene where the burglars, or yeah, I'd say burglars, trashed the place, as Jeff stated. But as far as Abby knows, Bonnie did nothing to her. Abby even drew the little like picture for Bonnie, like when she said that they seem to like pictures. The animatronics like the pictures and whatnot. She drew the little heart, and then she gave it to Bonnie, and then there was even a deleted scene, or like a cut idea of what could be in a scene where Bonnie gave Abby a piggyback ride. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It was that piggyback ride that Bonnie had gave to Abby or whatever was even done as a U2's pin for their FNAF Movies set. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But either way. And yeah, this doesn't really like matter all too much to the storyline or anything, but I'm just saying, realistically, from what we see in the first movie, Bonnie should be Abby's favorite. Again, I don't know if you should really have a favorite friend, but maybe she's talking more about like the animatronics than. No, that doesn't make sense. Either way, I hope y'all get my point. I'm not trying to start arguments or y'all to go after Scott for any reason, just because Abby liked Chica more than Bonnie, who is like my favorite. So maybe I have a little bias there. I don't know, but that's a possibility. I'm just saying. Oops, sorry. From what we're shown in the first movie, I feel like Bonnie would be Abby's favorite. No, it's like I said, nothing like it's important to the plot line or anything, but I'm just saying. Anyways, I have another video planned probably next week on like Saturday or something, but anyways, I hope y'all have a good day. I'm pretty excited for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. I enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's 2. While I acknowledge that it wasn't perfect by any means, like, in my personal opinion, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 just sort of suffers for having, like, 3 times the characters and 3 times the locations and such, with, like, the same amount of runtime as the first one. In fact, if I remember correctly, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was, like, a little shorter than FNAF 1. Not by a lot, it was, like, 5 minutes tops, probably less than that, but that 5 minutes is still, screen time that could have helped develop some of the characters more. Like, Michael, I feel like, while I kind of am intrigued about the evil Michael Afton in FNAF 2, where he's like, we have to fulfill our father's legacy, or whatever. I think it's a neat idea, but if they wanted, and I feel like that twist could have worked, but they just needed more screen time for Mike. And the amount of characters and locations and stuff is probably why characters like the Withered animatronics and Mangle, even Balloon Boy, hell, maybe even like Charlotte, who was like the main antagonist of the movie. I feel like they all didn't get as much screen time as they needed because, like I said, a lot more characters and a lot more locations, a lot more stuff that goes on in a movie is harder to balance than the shorter scale of the first movie. But I have confidence in Scott that he can make Five Nights at Freddy's 3 like the best in the trilogy, or at least as good as the first two, you know? If you tell me y'all's thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in the comments if you'd like to. Because I really like discussing about movies and such, and while I don't think I'm as critical of movies as I am other people, I honestly think Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is a little overhated. I understand not everyone has to like the movie, obviously, and it's not like a flawless movie by any means. It has its problems, but I think Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was a good time, you know, at the very least. or at least I had a good theater experience. I don't want to say it's for the fans or whatever, you know, like people say kind of about video game movies in general, because honestly, I kind of agree to some extent. Sure, obviously, for a video game movie, you want to make it a little more for the general audience, but let's be honest with ourselves. If if there's a movie for a video game, I feel like you want to target the fan base behind that video game more than the critics, because honestly, I don't hate critics by any means. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they deserve to burn in hell or whatever, but I feel like critics, I don't know, I just don't really like taking critic reviews as fact, because the art of storytelling, like in movies, video games, books, and such, that's all very subjective, because art is about self-expression and such. Art is about telling the story that you want, not everyone has to like it, but as someone who has a deep respect for even some bad movies, because here's my personal thought process whenever going in to watch a movie. I feel like the worst thing a movie can do is be boring or lazy. And Five Nights at Freddy's 2, in my personal opinion, is neither boring or lazy. And I have a deep respect, because I'm just going to say here, I'd rather have a bad movie that has deep passion and love put into it than a half-decent to even good movie that has none of that passion, love, or heart. Maybe it's a little cheesy for me to say this, but art it isn't about what's the best. I'm not saying people, like story writers, shouldn't try. Obviously you should try. But I'm just saying, if people are putting in that love and it's not like an objectively good story, I feel like there's still something to be held in that. Also, I think that 13% is, or like 15% that FNAF 2 is a little harsh, because even if I didn't love the movie with like all my heart and whatnot, I still don't think it should be like 13% or lower in Rotten Tomatoes. If y'all don't like Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that's fine. Obviously, it's just a movie. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't like a certain movie. But I'm just saying that sometimes it feels like people can be a little too harsh on the movie. And maybe I'm just a little whiny baby who wishes people liked the movie I liked, but... And I definitely did not explain this well. Maybe I could probably do a whole nother video just talking about how my thoughts on the art of storytelling are, and maybe I'll do that if there's high demand or whatever, because I did not go into the best detail of why I liked FNAF 2, and it's okay if others didn't, and maybe we should just accept... I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm just rambling on. This has nothing to do with what I was talking about in this whole video. I'll just end it off here, and if there's any demand for me to go and talk about my ideas or ideologies and whatnot about the art of storytelling as someone who is very passionate about stories and movies and such, if y'all want me to do a whole nother video about that, then I certainly can. Besides one other video I got in mind, I don't have any other ideas for videos right now. So, I hope all of y'all have a lovely day. See ya.